Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Catunquit Chronicles, which has been broadcast and developed here in the island of Catunquit in our studio. We acknowledge the custodians of the land where we are broadcasting from today, including the Narragansett Nation, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I'm your host, James Allen, and I'm joined here most weeks, and this week by the extraordinary adventurer, extreme sport enthusiast, and all-around great gal, Ashlyn Komoric. Hello and welcome to another episode of Catunquit Chronicles, and we are here today with Ashlyn Komoric, the wonderful Ashlyn, and our friends Davit, Baltic, and none other than his other friend, and my friend as well, Emma Weiss. So we're here today. They are poets, musicians, and persons with great thinkers. They're great thinkers, so we're very pleased to have great thinkers in the crowd this night. They're participating and assisting and performing tonight. Really excited about that.
Thank you, James. Me too.
Yeah, and
thank you.
Those are the two voices.
I'm excited that we've managed to set up 4 people in this room.
And not only 4
with
people.
Musical instruments.
With musical instruments. And we haven't had anybody pass out yet from the heat.
Not yet. The night is young.
And we have forgotten our waters once again. So we're going to hear a trumpet, the wave, and then something special tonight.
You know, that could be somebody's stomach rumbling. Like if you put your ear right up to somebody's stomach.
Yes,
reminds me of an aquarium sound.
Yeah, that's where
it is. And it's supposed to be an underwater sound, but it has that kind of gurgly.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all traveled from great distances tonight. I know that Davit Baltic came right from Catunquit, not more than 6-7 streets from here.
That's right. I live very close by.
Yes, and you've lived here quite a long time.
Yes, I feel like I've been an outsider in Catunquit for about 16 years now.
You know, I had that same feeling. You know, when I first met you, I felt...
like Davit's an outsider? That's what you thought?
Yeah, I often thought that you didn't quite fit in the community, but you've certainly carved a little space.
Yeah. Yep. Well, 16 years is a long time to not carve anything, right? So.
And you have you have a son as well. So the son, has been engaged in community things over the time, and that's how people meet people. That's great.
Yep, went here to Catunquit Elementary, where your studio is located.
Okay.
Was your son born on the island?
No.
Does he own a business?
No.
That's too bad. He's not an islander.
He's not an islander. We've already determined all the islander qualities.
Yes.
Outsiders make other outsiders.
Unless they choose to have their children in the house.
I was born in the house.
Were you?
I was.
Wow.
That's exciting.
Downstairs, not upstairs.
And your mother was okay with all this, or did this just happen all of a sudden?
It was her idea.
Oh, that's good.
And what town was that?
A secret town in Catunquit.
So in that secret town, you are like a true resident. I mean, not a resident, but a true
I suppose.
child of that town.
In a way, yeah.
Were you housebound?
Yeah, extremely housebound. I've just made it out today. I was fortunate enough to see David's digs and his houseboundness.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's in a cute little place. I like that home very
Thank you.
much.
Yeah, me too.
It's you feel like it's manageable. It's like it's all there. Just love it. So you're currently Emma, you're currently living in Ashaway. Ashaway, we all fall down.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
And that is close to Westerly, where I thought you lived.
Yes, north of Westerly by 15 minutes or so,
Yes.
depending on how fast you drive or walk.
And those 15 minutes are manageable. Do you spend a lot of time in Westerly, or do you go in another direction?
I go many directions. When I go home, I go up a big hill to get to Ashaway, up into the woods. And then when I want to go to Westerly, I go downhill.
Oh, I was like going downhill. Better than going uphill. David, your roots, where were your roots initially then? So you spent some time here in elementary school?
No, my son went to elementary school here.
Oh.
We moved here in 2009, but I do have an aunt and an uncle who are on my mother's side, who bought houses in Catunquit in the 70s, and they've lived here for a long time. One of them, my Uncle Dan, was a school teacher in the school system way back in the 70s. So there are roots here, and I would travel here as a child. It wasn't until my son needed a place where I could kind of co-parent, and he and my mother, who were separated, could both take part in his weekly routines, and we needed a place, and she lived in Newport, so I was very lucky to find a place here. And even though I describe myself as an outsider, I don't mean to say that this is a bad town. It's a nice town full of nice people. I can't help but think that maybe me being a single parent and I didn't try that hard, but integrating a little bit into people's lives when they're mostly families, it would be kind of like if the husband was at work, I'd come over and hang out with his wife and his kids for a while with my kids. I just feel like there was an automatic kind of, this guy isn't really trustworthy, even though I am.
Well, you should have baked a loaf of bread for the bake sale when you had been in. Right?
I lack those sorts of skills. It's just it's my fault that I'm an outsider. I'm comfortable that way, more comfortable that way.
There's always time left to work on your brownie game. Snickerdoodles.
Oh, don't talk about brownies.
Snickerdoodles of inclusion. That's what it's all about.
Davit, you have such an interesting name, given that your name means a bent supporting pole with a pulley system that assists in hoisting lobster pots and cod pods from the ocean. But are you a lifter?
I come from a long line of lifters.
Yes, you heavy lifters.
Well, I lift all sorts of things.
Good. Spirits. You're going to lift spirits tonight.
We'll see.
I've already lifted an amplifier multiple times and a drum set.
That's right.
Emma, how long you lived in Westerly?
I already was informed that you would mess with the time. Let's see, almost 7 years, I think now.
Not Westerly, that'd be Ashaway.
Yeah.
Were your ancestors like stonemasons?
Let's see. I think there were a couple. They were from Vermont, though.
Yeah, I knew that.
I've had some plumbers. Had some. I feel like my father is a sub-in stonemason as a carpenter. I work as a carpenter.
Yes.
I feel like it's in the same vein, just with wood, not stone.
Yeah. Now, are you doing finished carpentry, or are you doing everything?
Everything.
Yes. And that's something you just grew up doing, right?
It is. Yep.
I grew up missing, my father was very talented with that kind of thing. However, I always cut things the wrong size and stuff, and it came out screwy. I wasn't very good with that.
Scroogey.
Yeah, Scroogey.
Like Scroogey, Christmas Scrooge?
No, Scroogey. I don't know why we used to call it Scroogey.
Screwy is just normal messed up, right? Scroogey is like
or Scroogey is some Rhode Island thing.
Yes,
I think it is.
That us non-Rhode Islanders. Did you come from Rhode Island?
No.
No, see,
I didn't either.
one Rhode Islander in the room.
So your intention tonight is to mix poetry and music.
Yes.
Yes. I have to say, do you believe, well, I have to ask, do you believe that one enhances the other?
I do, and I also just find that I used to write songs and sing them, like you see so many people doing, and then I started to have problems because it seemed like the place that I would write songs from was always this kind of like sad and sort of wistful, kind of sad kind of thing. And it seemed like all the songs I ever made that were any good were about that same thing. And then like some years went by and I was just kind of like, I can't really write anything. Like I don't listen to that much music like that. Like I like uplifting, faster music, lighter music, things like that. But, just as I got older, I just didn't feel right playing those old songs or singing them again, almost like they weren't really a part of who I was, and I hadn't written anything new that way. So then I kind of came up with this idea of being able to put together a stage show that has a loop station, so I could create musical loops and interesting musical things, and then I could have my brother actually I've been in a band with him for about 10 years, a little band where he reads poetry, and I've only just started to try to put my own poetry and read my own poetry to music. But I do think it's effective. You guys will have to decide for yourselves. The audience will have to decide for themselves. But it's unusual. It's not.
Yeah, it is. I was always of the belief that the words that were purest. They had to stand on their own, and they can't be enhanced by illustrations. We had one of the students in one of the grad classes I took over the years. I always took a lot of poetry classes. Sometimes I just take the same class again because I like the professor. And this person liked to do. She was a pretty good artist, and she would create these little doodles in the corner. Oh my gosh! Well, he was not happy with that at all. So I was curious whether or not you're getting any negative feedback from anybody about the idea of putting
music and poetry together. No, so far, and it's only been I've done really one performance of it, recently, and it went over very well. The audience. You
work with your brother.
My brother is tired, so he hasn't practiced with me for a while. We finished an album, our fourth album, maybe earlier this year, and then he just kind of started feeling real tired from work, and it's been tough for him. So I'm hoping to re-engage with him when he's ready, but I think he's just kind of tired and stressed and overworked and not able to kind of feel like he's got the time to do it anymore.
Are you a professional musician?
No.
Do you have another profession?
Yes, I do. I work in Rhode Island helping people with disabilities to live different parts of their lives.
That's an admirable profession.
I would say so. And an outstanding and important piece of what happens in this world. We need to take care of each other, help each other, and guide each other, and then be guided by people of all abilities. And I think that's such a wonderful experience in life.
Thank you, James.
And David always looks very cool while he is leading in his aviators. Whenever we cross paths, he's always helping others while also looking fly.
It's very bright in here, though.
He's in his box over there.
Just to give people the visual.
What's your... I know, Emma, that you've traveled the world and spent some time in Asia, I think specifically China, learning, and I'm going to say that the upper levels of martial art, and I don't know which one.
Wushu Kung Fu.
Oh, yes.
Back in my younger days, which weren't all that long ago, but my knees feel like it was longer ago.
From the kicking, extending, and from being twisted. And
jumping into splits and doing endless roundhouse kicks and wearing unsupported rubber shoes.
It's too bad we can't, we don't have visuals on our podcast. Emma could do a move over there and jump into a split.
I could lift my leg up over my head and fall into splits. And
you could still do it. We could describe it very.
Can you still lift your foot over your head?
No, thankfully. I'm glad that I can't anymore.
Well, to give a visual here, Emma does not look to be much over 22.
Oh, thank you.
And fit as a fiddle, so I guess there was a lot of injury, though, associated with all that experience. But there must have been more than just yucky experiences. You had some good experiences in China.
I did. I got to train the national center where some of the basketball players and the gymnastics players all train in Zhejiang, China. So that's where their national wushu team is based. And my teacher grew up in school there, and so I studied a couple of times. I was fortunate enough to get to go. And we also had an exchange program with our martial arts school in Connecticut, where people would come from China who we had subsequently met. And so we had sort of an exchange program where we would train with each other. And
So that's how you got into it. There was a school in your area in Connecticut?
Yes, I had to travel a little ways to get to it in Connecticut, but yeah, so I was...
And can you speak Mandarin or some?
I cannot. I was actually just talking with a writing friend of mine about Mandarin recently. I've started learning some because I was surrounded by a lot of it, and I could understand some of the sports language and what was expected of me, but I sadly do not retain a lot of that. It's a very beautiful, very complex language, written and spoken, so yeah.
I imagine that you had some cultural experiences beyond just the center. True? Did you get out into the world?
Yes, we. Too bad I didn't know we were going to talk about this. I could have brought you a map. Oh, we saw many.
We don't know anything beyond Catunquit. We only go over the bridge, weather permitting.
The bridge was very nice tonight.
Oh, good.
I was driving over, all the lights were sparkling, and there were...
Did you feel like as soon as you got to the other side, you were in Asia?
Saw very tall stone carvings facing the whole front of a large mountain once. I don't know what it was called. It's a very famous temple, many temples. I got to see the Great Wall a couple of times and walk a bunch of that. I got to see...
Is it really great?
It is really great. It is great, and it is long and tall. I got to see Xi'an. Got to see...
Xi'an is a town? City?
Yeah.
Oh, good. So
when I tried to
your parents just dump you over there for months at a time, or did you...
just shorter time than that, a month, a couple of times.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
And they let you off work for that period of time. You didn't have to bang any nails for that time. You know, Davit, you have been one of those Catunquit Chronicles persons that was pretty thoughtful about the way you listened to the podcast and sent several thoughts about the topics that we were working on in the episodes, and they were complimentary. Actually, I appreciated that. But I guess I'm going to have to ask you, what's your favorite episode of the Catunquit Chronicles, and I have to ask why.
Well, I can remember a highlight is certainly the story about this young couple that goes on a date, and it's around Independence Day, and they want to go to Providence. It's going to be hard for them to get where they need to get on time, and they find this like drunken, crazy, kind of like a helicopter, it looked like a nautical helicopter pilot who picks them up, takes them.
The seaplane, actually.
Okay. I love it when he jumps in and he misses the pontoon there, and he just gets completely wet in the water, and then it says how he climbs in, like it was any, like
regular,
like it's just how it always happens. Yeah. But that was a great
good
story.
Episode.
And then they wind up fishing. They wind up fishing, actually. So it's a cool story.
And that's actually from it was an excerpt from some writing I did for a book I wrote, Swim That Rock, with another friend. He and I wrote it, and it was quite popular, and then we determined that there needed to be a sequel. Well, we only determined that on our own. Our agent didn't believe that. So I wrote a bunch of stuff.
All good writing projects are determined.
That's right. And my writing partner, he subsequently needed time to do other things and to make real money, and then so that piece was just there, and I pulled it out, and it is interesting because they do fly right through this aerial display during 4th of July fireworks.
That's cool.
And
I've
you're not
done
supposed
that.
to do that. Have you?
I have. I had a flight on, well, not, I didn't land in a pontoon boat or land in the water next to it. Thankfully it didn't end that way, but yeah, in Montana I was flying on the 4th of July and there was a pretty long landing coming into the Missoula airport and I got to see probably thousands of fireworks just in people's driveway, yards or what have you, and then bigger town displays and stuff because I left, you're flying west, so.
Yes, I was coming into town on 4th of July on one occasion when I was coaching and I was doing a recruiting trip out west somewhere, I don't know where, Colorado, let's say. And I came into Providence and all the fireworks were going off. And, my family was probably down there somewhere watching them without me. It was kind of terrible. But that was the same night that we saw the comet. So the comet was right, it seemed like it was right on the wing.
Which one, Hail Bob?
It must have been in the,
Is it Hail Bob that comes?
I don't know, probably prior to you might have been a little tiny kid. This would be 1994.
Yep, I would have been small.
I don't think it was Hail Bob.
Can't remember. Can you guys remember the names of the other famous ones that they're?
Hell, Bob just
Nope.
reminds me of that Hanson song.
Oh no!
Hanson songs. Now I've got that in my head.
I've never had that association. That's good.
Now, Emma, I've known you to be a person that loves books. Is that accurate?
Oh yes.
And a person that goes in a bookstore, a used bookstore, and comes out broke. Is that accurate?
I'm doing better with the brokenness.
Yeah.
And I've just come into the library and leave with sore biceps. I was considering going to the Boston Antiquarian Book Fair this weekend because I've never been. I don't know if any of you have ever been, and it's the last place I should go, but just to experience, just for the experience, I was considering
And
going.
buy a really expensive old book.
Yeah.
Yes, with mold in it.
or a modestly priced book with mold in it. Maybe
Gotta
it would
do
have
that.
less mold.
Since you're a Connecticut person, have you been to the Book Barn place in Niantic?
Oh, yes. Yes, I grew up going there. I think Glenn is one of the book buyers there. Is it cutting out a little bit?
Yeah, we need to make sure we talk into the microphones. Because we get so excited to talk to one another, we forget that we're actually speaking into a microphone. But that is so true. So go on with that thought.
Oh, and so the book barn, have you been there yourself, actually?
Yes, I used to live in Niantic.
Oh, you did? So did you go all the time?
Not all the time. And my most recent time was driving back there from here.
Oh.
So,
It's a lot to explore.
yeah, that's a trap.
Yeah.
Ashland, are you not a true islander?
I am
So-
absolutely not a true islander. Not this island,
Is there a
anyway.
damn true islander in this room?
There's none of us. We don't get any credit for years served or anything like that.
You're not even an Aquidneck Islander.
No.
The pumpkin
However,
might be.
I have roots here. They're just roots from afar. I told the
They're not
story.
that deep.
Yeah, I mean, as an 11-year-old, I saw this island from the deck of a lobster boat, and I was working aboard a lobster boat, and I saw the island. I said, I want to live there. And I said, Catunquit's for me, and here I am. So, I mean, I could have gone anywhere. It could have been New York City. It could have been anywhere. Islands. I just like islands. Manhattan. It's fine. So anyway, I wanted to ask one more question of Emma. How is you're in a writing program now, or has it ended?
I am, yes, until June. Yeah, it's going well up in Boston.
Are you sharing any of your writing with anybody else at this time, or just the students and the leader, professor person?
I mean, I'm always writing. I write on Substack, which I don't know if anyone here knows. I have a website where I share my writing.
Oh, didn't know that.
On the solid page.
You're probably going to have to explain to James what Substack is.
It's
Yes.
sort of a newsletter format of writing. So I write a lot of essays on music and arts and culture.
No, I don't want to insult you in any way ever. But I do want to say that I think you, like, and you don't think you would find this insulting, but maybe
Try me. Let's
overstated. I think you are perhaps one of, at least the region's great new, and I will call you young, poets. I've
That's very, very kind.
amazed at your work,
Oh, thank you.
and I hope our audience enjoys it as well. So we're entering that part of the, I don't know why we call it a show. Is it a show? It's a cast.
I think
It's not a show.
it's sort of like a show.
Tonight it's a show with all this gear, and I hear some clacking going on. So
Yeah,
the
what-
changing of from the foot pedals or something.
No, it's not. Can I explain what it is? I set my pick on there, and then I think I moved the drum, and now I'm either contemplating having to play the thing I'm going to play without a pick, or I'm trying to find my pick, and I'm making a lot of noise. So
I may have one in my car.
Okay. Well, at this time, I thought we would switch to our friendly little fun thing. Is it bullshit or not? So we have some
Oh, yes.
some stories to tell here.
That's a great idea. I love that segment.
In the nearby town of is it bullshit or not? In the nearby town of Newport, Rhode Island, across the bridge from Catunquit, the former High Lie and later casino is to become utilized as a parking area for Newport visitors with a shuttle that brings you to the train, and then the train to the train station located nearest the bus station in downtown Newport. Driving the city will be restricted to delivery vehicles only, and the streets will be one way with one half of the street open to walking and biking. The building is to become a massive year-round locally sourced food, arts, and crafts center with open market stalls, much like the markets in New York City and Philadelphia. Is this bullshit or not? Is this a planned?
That is a dream, and it's bullshit. It's a nice dream.
Which island was that? Was it Aquidneck or was it Catunquit?
Aquidneck. It was
Aquidneck.
Newport.
Yeah, it's where the High Lie and then the later casino.
Yeah, it's what they're trying to do with that.
Building.
Yeah.
So it's the
there is that place up on North Main Street in Pawtucket. I forget what they call it, but it's a big arts community. It's kind of got that kind of like open, like it's in one of those old mills. They've got hallways and they set up things and they have musicians playing and things like that.
Where the farmer's market is.
Yeah, that's right. I think I'm going to say that is maybe also a dream, but I'm going to say that it's true, like it's real.
And Emma.
I think the part where whoever's scheme this is came up with the idea to adjust all of the traffic to being foot traffic and bicycle might have sold me on this idea of perhaps being bullshit, sadly. This is not quite Holland yet, and I feel like the infrastructure needed to de-infrastructure itself might be beyond what people are ready for, so I'm going to say bullshit.
Well, these are plans that I have made up.
Oh, okay.
But they are plans that could work, right? This could be it.
Sounds fabulous.
I feel strongly about, check your pocket, Dave.
Oh, I have already. I'm so sorry about this. It's so dumb to just lose your pick and then disrupt the whole podcast because of it. So
Okay, well then don't worry about it.
try to ignore me if you can. I'll try to
Okay,
be
so
good.
I thought this whole idea is strong, you know. And what are you going to do with this building? You have any idea?
Well, I mean, I have one of my ideas that my daughter and I thought it would make a perfect climbing gym because it's so tall,
Oh yeah.
with a like outdoor cafe kind of brewery thing in the bottom. Of course, Newport Craft Brewers just spent millions of dollars expanding their operation, so some tough competition. I think there has been a plan for that space to put up a hotel and a bunch of retail and housing and so on, but it's not any more than somebody's idea at this point.
Okay, I have a second one.
What?
Is it bullshit or not? A second. Oh, bullshit or not? Former President Donald Trump is now President-elect Trump. Is it bullshit or not?
You're
Who's Donald Trump?
Oh,
yes, unfortunately, it is true.
yes.
I used to hear him on the Howard Stern show when I was very young. I lived in New York.
Yeah.
And he was on the Howard Stern show quite regularly as a dashing young billionaire or millionaire, whatever it was, they talked back then that he should have some kind of a political career, that he had a lot of really good ideas and all that stuff. That's what
I've never
That
heard
was the
any
story.
recordings of Howard Stern and Trump.
I grew up with it. I was I was right in the wheelhouse. I was like probably 12. And it was very kind of inappropriate on the radio for its time,
Usually
very
like 11 p.m., right?
Yeah.
6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every morning.
That's right. Do you have any stories, Davit?
I do. Right after I got out of college at the local university over here, I was, living around town, kind of going out. There was a young lady that I was interested in. Her name was Tabitha. And I knew some of Tabitha's friends, so I went to one of Tabitha's friends. At this time, I lived, or just before this, I had lived in a certain part of Narragansett. It was a dead-end street. It was called Wandsworth Street. I only say...
Can I interject?
Yes, go ahead.
Was Tabitha...
A witch?
Yeah. I was going to say, I was going to ask if she was a witch, but I was going to ask if she was Elizabeth Montgomery and Dick York's daughter.
Probably, and let me say this: that would probably fit in with the normal woman that I might fall for. I also, when I lived on Wandsworth Street, I had a friend. Her let's not say her name, but she was one of my housemates actually, and she would practice some of that stuff. She would occasionally go out with a box into the woods by the house and bury things and do rituals and things like that. And that was her business. I never really got into it much. But anyway, now fast forward a couple of years, I'm kind of like out of college and I'm hanging around town, going to bars. And Tabitha. So I didn't know much about her, just that I would see her out and I knew some of her friends. And so I asked one of her friends, Amy, if she could ever introduce me to her. And so Amy, who was, I was a little kind of friendly with Amy, she said, well, we're gonna have a party on Friday or whatever, and I think Tabitha's gonna be there. I can't be sure. So she writes the directions down on a piece of paper. Back then, that's how people found places, and then whatever time goes by, and I start driving to this place. I'm kind of excited, whatever. It's like, this might be cool. And I start to realize that I'm heading towards a place where I used to live, although the address was Knight Street. So I figured, whatever, it certainly wouldn't be the same place. But as I kept following the directions, sure enough, it was my street, the dead-end street that I had lived on, which was called Wandsworth Street when I lived there a couple of years sooner. Then I get to the house, get to the door, go inside. Amy welcomes me. It's my house, same exact house where I had lived with my friends for just about 9 months or so. And they proceed to put on some pornography that was extremely racy for my young mind at the time. Probably by today's standards, it might not be. And a young man came out of a room and started talking to some of the ladies who were there. He got a big widow's peak. And another guy came out of a room with a big net and explaining that this was a project that he had for school, but it was like ropes were that thick, and he had obviously hand knitted it. He was showing it to like around to people while this weird pornography is going on, and Amy's kind of sitting next to me on the couch, and I'm in my house where I had a lot of formative experiences with a group of friends. In any case, Amy kind of realized I wasn't really into what was probably about to happen, and she said, do you want to go in my room? And I said, yep. And we went to my room. So this is the room that had been my room. And I remember talking with her all night, just about how freaked out this whole experience had made me. And when I left in the morning, I had to resist the urge to run, not walk to my car. Bullshit or not bullshit?
Were you on acid?
Intermittently, but not necessarily that night.
Tonight? No. I think I'm going to say that I think that is a true story, and based on a few elements. I thought it was well told, first of all. So there wasn't any breaks in it. There wasn't any gaps. And there's a nice flow to it. I wasn't sure about this fishing net. Yeah, that was a little dodgy. But I'm going to go true.
Me too.
I'm going to say my first reaction is it's true, but he is a performer. So therefore, he could have pulled that off.
Mm-hmm.
We do have the benefit of seeing any eye crinkles or dimples developing as to whether or not this is actually a lie.
That's why they wear the reflective aviator glasses, so that
I'll go with true. So we got 3 trues.
I'm going with true, but I'm doubting myself.
Dave, do you feel it's true as well?
It's definitely true. It's one of the strangest experiences of my life, and I was not, hallucinating or having a fever dream of any kind. That the whole thing happened to me, and I still to this day think about it and wonder whether
what was actually going on there,
or that there was a message. Or sometimes I just think, poor Amy, she liked me and I liked her friend, and she tried to bring me home to where they probably get it on in that way, and that wasn't really my thing. And she was very polite about it once she realized I wasn't feeling comfortable. Do
you think that she expected you to get into like some kind of multiple person?
Yes, I think that's probably what was.
They even had the proverbial net.
I don't know. What do you use the net for? I don't know about that.
Well, maybe to capture the guy who's incapacitated through pleasure.
Oh. Ooh, sounds like it's very sore.
It's the horror movie that I keep expecting to play out in my life, but thankfully, never quite.
Sounds like an avant-garde play to be written here.
Yes. And
maybe not performed in Catunquit.
Ashlyn, do you have one this evening that you'd like to share?
It's just a quick statement, which you can decide whether it's bullshit or not. But today, once again, the U.S. sits on the shrinking minority list of countries that have never been led by a woman. Or I should say countries in the Americas.
Yes, that's sadly true.
Mm-hmm. It is true.
Yes, it is. Well, boy, that's a bummer. Let's,
not to bring everybody down.
I was just going to go into...
But I felt like, for me anyway, a big part of this, I think, has to do with gender.
Yes. Yeah, there's
other factors,
trifecta of factors but maybe there may be just gender bias, right? Gender prejudice. This perception that women. There was some shocking elements to the results, which I guess we should go into detail and lament. Do you have a story? Did you already do one?
No, not as pertains to bullshit at this time.
Yeah, you've never told a lie. Yeah, okay, well, Dave has found his pick, and
very observant, James.
We have a commercial break here. We want to go through and quick got to thank our sponsors and some sponsors and others, such as shout outs. The former Republican Party, now referred to by their supporters as the Retrumpican Party, would like to thank all those that voted for the President-elect Trump in the recent election. Retrumpicans are elated and even a bit surprised that their candidate remains the Teflon Don and persevered through a myriad of self-created adversity. That's a note from the new Retrumpican Party. Congratulations to the candidates prevailing in the recent town council and school committees race in Catunquit. Thank you for all those that ran and to those that prevailed, as this is a thankless and time-consuming responsibility. Catunquit by the Sea Bed and Breakfast reminds you that we are open 24/7 with free breakfast, brunch, lunch, and dinner served daily. Sleep in a room dating to the 1890s, awaken to the sounds of the sea, the smell of brine, and the knowledge that you too can drink overpriced coffee downtown. Stomp your feet nightly at the Catunquit Cafe and take a ferry ride to Newport, where you can stomp all night. Catunquit by the Sea for all your upcoming Thanksgiving spillover company. Kate's Therapeutic Sessions. Are you feeling like the earth is telling you it can't hold on? Are you anticipating your friends being deported while they're born in the USA? Underage children are left behind. Are you seeing the world suddenly through a differing lens? Call Kate for all your therapy needs. Sean's Ice Cream, located on South Main Street, offers an ice cream and politics with each scoop. Come to Sean's Ice Cream, where we fly the flags of justice every day, even the American flag. This time, I'd like to turn the mics over to our two friends, are visiting here today, our performers, poets and performers and musicians. My gosh, we have some talent here tonight. If one of you can start, that'd be great. Who's going to begin this process?
You look very prepared to go. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, I do have two pieces if I can do them, but I'll just do one now and then one later.
Yeah, one now, one later. See how the time is looking out.
Okay, great. So this one is called One Large Eye. I'll be creating some music at first, so just ask everybody to sort of get into it and kind of like get into a groove of the music, and then
we're going to be grooving.
Paper rustling here is the me opening the page. I don't have it memorized. One day I hope to memorize these.
Blow by glow. We've got the paper open. He's not lost the pick. He's working his way down to a foot pedal. The word exile is written on his chest in bold letters that seem like fire. He has a mohawk. Davit.
Thank you.
Baltic.
Oh, I should say that I go under a pseudonym when I perform. Davit Baltic is my given name, but I go on by the name of Dave Gunlock when I perform. Oh, look. Okay, sorry, I hadn't erased the old thing on there.
Okay, that was a non-starter.
That was a false start. That was actually what I played at my house when Emma came and visited me. Now that's erased from the machine. I can.
It's erased and gone forever.
It has a long, forward-swept mohawk haircut too absurd and looks like a horn or a cartoonishly long, narrow cliff off of which you'd like to fly matchboxes. Dominating its puckered face, one large eye, black iris and white pupil. Puffy lids and wire lashes, two long pigtails behind tiny round ears, and an indecent grin. Always makes a lot of sense, saying things like, love is just a tool to indebt people and hope for a mutual future, and the things we think of as our most noble attributes are only imaginings to soften the ugly features of self-interest. It sneers. It knows I know it's right. And I say, be gone from here. Do not return. I accept your truth, a droplet to absorb into mine. Its little nose, a tear duct almost, below the lower lid of its one large eye, is always running, and into the slurp of its wet mouth. Once I saw it try to use some linen from its jacket pocket, but the cloth emerged wet and dripping, stuffed back quickly, and saw each other see the stain. So I made all kinds of mistakes in that, but that's the best I could do.
Now that was great.
That was good perseverance. I saw you sweating it a little bit there, but
Oh, thanks. Yeah, not everything went exactly right.
hey, under the circumstances,
I thought
I was impressed.
Happy accidents were great. The creating of it, of the music the background music, while we're here live in studio, and then the expression of the poem, great.
Oh, thank you.
Really
Thank
wonderful.
you, James. Thank you, Emma.
What
Yeah,
an experience.
I like the process, like watching the process. Unfortunately, our listeners can't see what we saw, but
Watching the layers kind of go on.
but they could hear it.
Hopefully they could. That was yeah. I
definitely,
give
I
myself a D- on that one. I could do a lot better. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Well, I don't know about
No
that.
grades in poetry, David. I thought it was great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
There were, yes, wonderful to witness this. Now, as there were transitions there, it was charming to hear the paper. I've always asked this. I've always asked our
Jamie
guests.
is always
I would stay away
obsessing
from
about the
paper
noises.
because the paper makes that noise. However,
It's one of my favorite noises.
I'm sure it is. Turning of a page. The turning of a page.
I love that sound.
It's not a podcast noise that's well received, however. Also, I thought there was nice the layers that you chose, and then when you went to the brushes, I like that very much because that brought it all together for me.
Yeah, thanks.
And there was a point in the poem where the tear duct slurp to the mouth. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the tear duct is like its nose is like a tear duct, right?
Yes.
Right at the bottom of its one eye.
Of its one eye.
And it just runs into its mouth constantly.
Yes.
You shared something interesting with me earlier about this piece, which maybe you want to share, maybe you don't, around its original vision in the forest around.
Oh yeah, just in sort of the
thought that was really interesting.
The hedges around my yard, I'm just in my backyard, and it was a breezy day. And again, I was not on any hallucinogenic drugs whatsoever, but the wind was blowing the bushes around, and I just sort of saw this kind of, oval-shaped kind of face in there. It looked like it had a big eye, and this like little kind of pointy mouth and little pointy nose and little ears with pigtails. Just kind of saw it there in my vision, almost like when you're looking at one of those magic eye things, and it's just abstract patterns, and then suddenly you see something in it. Or people do it with clouds all the time. It just happened to happen that way, and it inspired me to write. I said, oh, maybe I'll write about that. At first, I think I got this weird, spooky feeling like I'd been visited by something, if you know what I mean, like because it really looked like a face to me for a minute, to the point where it almost shocked me, and then I was just kind of like, oh, and then I was like, oh, okay, I see. It's just the bush there.
Well, whatever it was brought you a poem.
It brought me this poem,
A little gift.
I often see images in marble. Before it's all been, chopped and cut and created into something beautiful, but just the marbling in marble. I'll look for images, and particularly when I'm brushing my teeth, because we have a marble countertop, and just discovered a new one.
What is it?
It was a figure, a woman's figure. Of course, it was a woman's figure. And I looked for the other figures, but I could. But I found a dog as well in this little. It's like a German Schnauzer. Found a German Schnauzer in a woman's torso.
It says something about how good our brains are at taking things that are abstract or abstract patterns and finding a sort of a unity to it, being able to identify it as something.
There's something on the back of the door in the bathroom that we use in the administrative offices. I won't go into the details of what I see there, but it is very clearly the thing that I see.
Is it when you're sitting down?
Yes, if you're sitting on the toilet, you look at the door, and the door has, it's not tree rings, it's because, they plane that off, so it's probably where a couple of branches came out of the original tree.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Have you ever talked to anyone else who might have been in that same stall?
I mentioned it to one other person, but not somebody who's been sitting in that stall. I think I would freak people out.
Yeah.
I want to go and look now.
I will show you before you leave.
Please.
Let's all look.
Let's all go. A field trip.
You may not see what I see, but
There was a poet the other night at this at a literary salon that happens in Westerly, and their message, Emma, you were there, but I don't know if you remember this guy. The message about don't hide your weird. It's kind of like this guy was kind of doing this whole poem about don't hide your weird, and I think sometimes it's like life would be a little bit more fun and cheerful if people who thought they saw something a little whatever on the back of a thing just felt comfortable enough to just kind of like say it to other people, and everyone would just kind of get a chuckle out of it,
I try.
Yeah.
okay, so I will share this with my coworkers, and then I will report back to what they say.
Because maybe a lot of people have that same experience, and they would enjoy having a laugh about it.
Our audience needs to know.
I need to know, and I realize I wouldn't be appropriate for me to go in there and sit.
Why not? Well, you don't have to sit. It's a co-ed bathroom, though.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I assumed it was the ladies.
Okay, speaking of sitting, would you
I
like
want to talk more about the bathroom.
Would you like to express a poem for us?
I will express
Emma?
a poem. I have to rattle some papers.
Express a poem makes me think of popping a pimple or something.
Ashland, you silly goose, you. Now, typically, in my experience, you've never used paper, you've always remembered your poems.
I think I've done a mix of both. I wish that I was a better memorizer than I am. So this is memorized.
That's okay. The wonderful poet, whose name eludes me at this time, she would say, I have a poem for you.
A poem?
A poem.
A poem.
I always like that about her.
It is interesting, always saying poem.
Yeah, poem.
It seems more English.
Does it have a title?
No, this doesn't have a title. It is, I will preface it with saying that it is about a building in New York City that I saw with a friend of mine, and people who are frequenters of New York might be familiar with this building.
Is it Trump Towers?
I believe it is called The Nest. I think that's right.
Okay.
And it's a very kind of architecturally progressive looking structure. You can do the good old look it up if anyone wants to see an image of this building. But it was closed for a period of time due to people deciding that this was a place to end their lives. That this building is sort of an edifice of both art and subsequent death, which I think is really interesting.
And this is by jumping off of the roof?
This was from sailing off the top of this several-story building that it really encourages one to go up and explore it. It's lit up in this very golden, kind of light.
I might
there
have
it
the
is,
exact opposite thought.
Ashland has pulled it up. Yeah,
Even
it has
though
sort of
James forbids research.
Ashland has a picture of a very honeycombed building. So anyway, I saw this building at night with a friend of mine, and I wrote
So it's really,
about it.
it's an art piece. It's not like a functional office space or living space.
Nope, it is. I think I have not been inside it because
Is that
it
on the High Line?
closed.
Is it strictly a jumping space?
It is nearby it. And it's not on it.
Looks like a very sort of futuristic sort of office building you might see in a sci-fi movie on an alien planet.
It has sort of a Dune-esque quality to it. So anyway,
It's got like some
this
eyes
is sort
up
of
here.
a poem and a story about that amidst other things. I hope that at least some of what I say is open to interpretation, neither finished or buttoned up quite fully like the jacket I wear against your investigations, that are aimed toward inquiry into exactly what it is I mean. I need new laces for my boots and thread for the buttons coming loose, the ones I keep forgetting and pulling at. The one that fell off in the taxi that you grabbed and handed it off to me like it was riches, like I get paid in diamonds, like your patent leather jacket's undying love affair with black satin. All I could do for an answer was to grab it. And I hope that not every search I conduct is derived entirely from every other philosopher and poet who has walked before me down the snow-covered path, leading me like coyotes, leg lifted, leaving me nothing but piss stains to follow. I am here, and now I am not. Hopefully, I have learned from those before me, from Arendt and Harjo and Lopez, not to leave anything but wet stains and footprints through the brambles of language and purpose for you to find me by. Your attempts to do so, leaving the search party with water in their boots when they set foot in the place where the pond meets the high lines of the tide. What I mean is, and remains to me, to be elusive. This dance of confusion you can build out of service, come find me. Maybe the will of words will direct us down the line, each step toward inquiry a good expenditure of time. I wonder what they think, these people, these men and women made out of letters. What would they say of this chalk outline on the sidewalk down the street from the green and broken apartment, the ceiling cracking open from the leaking? I feel like some of them would be wise to this version of finality, as some have met their end this way. I know that they would know that what hides in speaking is the retention of mystery, but falsifying of faith is the art formed. And we lamented that we were 6 months too late to see it in person, gazing up at the high glass, at the distance between the glittering windows and the ground. I wanted to see the white gypsum outline against the black asphalt, the outline of a soul, of a shoe, of a man, of the view from way up there before he came down. Before he came down. Quiet, like the forest in Japan where people meet their end all the time. There, where the ghost is commonplace, the self-saver, savior, savor, the taste of blood in your mouth. The taste of the wind on the ride down. I wanted to see the blood pooling on the sidewalk, the sun setting inside it deep and orange and round. An orange fire made to separate atoms and matter and man into piles of indivisible sound. I wanted to see it dry into the proverbial raisin in the sun so I could use it as an excuse to look inside at my own self-contempt. I wanted to see the man staring down at the reflection of the sun on the sidewalk made from himself. Like the desiccated reasons we find for self-made treasons, like the crumpled birds we walk by all the time who hit buildings in the wrong season. And I wondered if it was all because life was hard, and I know all these would-be poets would say it was because it was all too easy. Since now there is only the imagined forest, the red tree down the street, the fake one, reminiscing over its brothers from on top of the tracks, the old railroad line dreaming of its imaginary roots pushing deep into the old soil of Mannahatta, who would, if they could, share roots with those across in Japan, where one must see the forest laid gently against Fuji's back. The mist rising out of mythology's lack, the blue tree meadow, welcoming home the ghosts that pierce through the shadows with their unrelenting self-reliance. Each one a voice, a subtle reminder, though these ghosts don't serve a lunch special or carry cannons across the Hudson's ice floe at night, they hold the weight of sorrow like marrow measured boundless, just part of this body of work that we call home. We just don't feel it while we walk around.
Wow.
Come on. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
That is a big wow. What's a double wow? There's so much there. My goodness.
Sometimes when I think of your poetry, Emma, and the way that you read it, I think, like, I'm twice your size, but you're twice my balls.
That's very kind.
Very
I
strong.
think it's kind.
I think
Very
it's a
strong.
compliment.
Yes.
Very strong.
They're very kind.
I was
Appreciate
watching
that.
you read and also looking at your hands and the strength in your hands too, and your forearms. You know, I was thinking of that in your profession. You know, as a carpenter, and I thought, my God, this strength is coming through in their words too.
Oh, thank you.
And this,
I always watch people's hands when they read too.
And I was also equating the you might not say a victim, but the person that made this choice to the bird that finds the window. Oh, that's pretty powerful stuff there. And then the soul, you know, this examination of the soul, and it's
SOLESOUL.
yes,
The double.
and also the savior, and that examination. There's so much there to unpack. I mean, it probably take me a month of
We'd need to hear it again,
discerning.
over and over again.
There's that juxtaposition between the location in New York and the one in Japan, because the one in Japan, I did a little bit of research about it because I had an opportunity to hear this poem or read this poem before. And it's a place where a lot of times, because of tradition, a lot of the elders in a family, when they get sick, rather than draw it out and bring financial hardship to their family, it would be customary for them to be kind of brought out and kind of said goodbye to in this forest, and they just sit out there until they expired.
And this is the blue tree meadow that is also referenced in the poem. So that it is a real place.
It's a juxtaposition of like the culture, like New York City, hustle and bustle, and here's this building, and what do they do when people jump off it? They close it down. Versus this sort of ancient Japanese culture where the place is much more revered. I'm not saying that I think it's a positive thing or anything. I'm not putting a judgment on the actual practice, but just on the fact that it's something that they think of as a sacred sort of thing. Just an interesting.
You just don't want your kids to see your bank account and then say, "Oh, Dad, it's time to go and sit in the woods." But on that topic, I don't mean to make anything light of it. I did actually.
I appreciate your observations, David.
The other observation, though, was it the base of the mountain, the special mountain in
Mount
Japan?
Fuji's back.
Mount Fuji's back. I love that line.
Oh, thank you.
Fuji's
I
back.
have not been to Mount Fuji. I would like to see it.
I think I think you might imagine you reading this poem.
That'd be
I'm not
cool.
sure what would happen.
Well, it's the wrong language, but there's probably plenty of.
Have you contemplated reading your poem here?
Oh, good question. Yeah.
I have not. That's a good idea. Or at least an intriguing one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Broadcast to the city.
Ashlyn was pointing to the image of the.
Yes,
The
when I didn't mean here,
Yeah.
because you've just read it here.
Yes.
One of
Yes.
the most beautiful images is the one of the blood spreading and the sunset. It's just the gorgeous colors. It's a very powerful sort of juxtaposition of something that we normally think of as quite horrific, but then there's like a certain respect for it, I think, in your poem that you wouldn't usually get because people are too freaked out by the subject matter.
Even the word. In poetry, words have power. Certain words have more power. That word has a lot of power. And brings images to the listener.
You and I have had this discussion about the word skull in the past, I think, too.
Yes. Skull.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of amateur poets, not you. You are a power poet. Like I have you up here. And then there's others that are starting out and they try to write a poem about God. Or too much. It's too big a topic.
I have a poem about God.
Yes. But isn't it spelled backwards, dog?
No.
It's about your dog?
No.
Is this the poem you're going
I
to
love my
perform
dog.
for us?
If I can perform another, I would like to perform this one.
Perform away.
But
Are
it's
you gonna go through the process again?
I am, except it's going to work so much better this time.
Okay.
Now he's got the
How are we doing for-
nerves.
Time, Ashley, tomorrow.
Still a short story to hear.
It's 8:42.
I don't know what that means. Will I know if I look over here in this special motherboard?
Are you trying to find out how long we've been at it?
Yes.
1 hour and 7 minutes and 53 seconds.
Okay. I don't think we're going to have a story tonight. I think we're going to go with music and poetry.
Well, thank you.
Go for it, Davit.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Davit Baltic.
This is called Adam and Everyone. And in a way, I look at it as almost like, 30 lines that kind of take the Bible from the beginning to the end.
I do love this poem.
Oh, thank you. Cool.
Me too.
Cool. Thank you,
Great
guys.
poem.
animals, pregnant with gift curse, or beings of light caught in some refuse storm, or symbiotic life with the fair, hairless, upright, and muscled primate on planet 3. A plan-created man, magic wand in hand, and in receiving line, all the athletic, smart little monkeys got their doses of radiance, imprinted and eternal, the husk sheds, revealing fresh vessel, a similar mixture, different in the same, each and every time. Poor, innocent creator cast out, did only one thing to us we didn't do to ourselves. Damage control, son, healer, and teacher, tried to clear his name before it was too late, but it was always too late. Man insists we follow monkeys, windows dressed in chiffon, $20 in Nickelodeon, mud-stuck spirit peers through alien eyes at a culture with which it has nothing in common, reduced to a decision, compliance, or rebellion. Please, Lord, a third option. Simple mud-born creature, I am not your keeper. Washed his hands like Pilate, thought the clay was better. Be happy, Iron Man, you are here at all. Ghost in a box, a tingling antenna. Tune in for revelation later.
I get a very sci-fi vibe from you.
Yeah.
Oh, I love sci-fi, sure.
Yeah, I can tell.
There's a lot of that going on.
Pregnant with gift curse. I love that line.
Thank you.
So many good lines.
That's very heavy, actually. Being pregnant with the gift curse.
Yeah, speculation at the beginning there about what we are. I think about those sort of things all the time. Not so much who are we, but like, what are we? You know?
You ask a lot of great questions without actually asking the question directly, which I love, and is very poetic in that piece.
Thank you, Emma.
It makes me think of something. Somebody recently was explaining how many planets there are out there. And to wrap your head around how many there are, because there are so many, there are 1 billion planets for every grain of sand on the Earth. Does that make you feel like a speck?
Yeah, they're like grains of sand themselves from another perspective. Rocks tumbling.
We are 97% stardust. So.
I'm
I thought
98.
we were water.
We are the matter. We are the matter of stardust. Yeah.
Yes. And we're all matter of stardust. See?
Yeah.
So it should be no prejudice whatsoever.
We're just the reorganization of nothing.
But this whole vastness thing really freaks me out sometimes, and I get this very
It freaks me out too.
frightened feeling that there's no like big balloon holding this all in.
That we know of. No one knows.
Like, but even like as far out as we've been going, and we've gone quite far now, and we have this thing that goes,
Which is not very far at all.
But isn't it going out? Isn't the idea that it's expanding, and that some people think it expands and then contracts? But like basically, like everything keeps going out from a central point, and is going further and further out there, and also away from each other. And then there is a theory that eventually it'll get so far away that it'll start to lose momentum, and it'll start to contract and come back together and explode again, like a heartbeat, like a cosmic heartbeat.
I'm reading this really interesting book right now that I'm reviewing that I will just say the title to, that's called Dismantling the Master's Clock by, it's Rashida Tramble, I think is her name. And she's, talks a lot about this quantum physics and the ideas and perceptions of time and how they apply to the physical body, but also in our perceptions of storytelling and all those ideas. Very interesting.
Time's another thing you probably shouldn't write about as a poet.
What you shouldn't?
I definitely shouldn't.
It's maybe too vague and too big.
Just
Got to focus on something, right?
No.
Emma does not want to limit herself.
no. That'd
Can
be
you tell?
Do you have another poem you would like to share?
Yes, this one I will compose on the spot called Sweat, because it's hot in here. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was going to be very impressed.
Like the sheen after a basketball game.
And it's not, by the standards of this room, it's not that hot in here.
Imagine
the
summer.
door is usually
The summer
closed.
is bad.
True. The heating source is below. Is that what it is?
Yeah, the boiler room's right underneath us.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
Makes sense. I do often find myself hanging out above boiler rooms for whatever reason in life. So.
Don't we all?
This is a shorter poem, and I don't know what this one is called either.
Make sure. Can I ask one thing?
Yeah.
Make sure that you're speaking into the microphone. You could drop it down a little lower if you prefer, or whatever. Like I'm getting you in and out sometimes on the.
That's unfortunate.
I think as long as you speak loudly, it's fine.
I want to speak French like a German, with all the cases filed and vile to the listener. I want to clear my throat and hear Spanish coming out accidentally. Empty the granary of every grain and fill me up like a fat duck overfed on the idolatry of Thanksgiving. Wings tucked in repose, dripping in fat and sage, laying a bed of porcelain you can cut your teeth on. I want to drink milk with white bread English, sprinkled with the passions of blueberries on the bay in Maine at dawn. Let the words come and meet me on the page. I'll listen, even if you don't have something to say. English is not so good at listening. I want to breathe the accurate smoke of Russian cedar's hemlock, whose needles sprinkle the snow under the feet of polar bears. Don't drink foreign water. Get drunk on the idea of man for a meal. The blood sweet and disappearing into the layers of snow where it can mingle with the blood of mammoth, whose tusks could spear a manhole cover and carry bears on its back. I want to wake up knowing for certain that language belongs to no one, that my words in your mouth are sweeter because you drank honey in the Dominican before the friars, before the cross-covered robe hovered across the beach. I want the open-tongued Arabic chanting poetry from the cave's mouth, singing out the world hustles for the hills that say they hear that most gods don't cry. Listen and smile for the languages we forgot. Each ink blot lives here with me, with you, the proverbs of sticks making pictures in the dirt, watched by the stones of the desert in Australia, whose songs can sing each one of us into being. Fear not, the words forgot, the wooden spoons we carve of tongues will scoop for us the slippery elm bark soup of soothsayers uncouth, so help us, words.
Look at that for a second.
Can you look at that?
So
I want to try to say what you just said. The wooden spoons we carve of tongues will scoop for us the slippery elm bark soup of soothsayers uncouth, so help us words.
it's a little bit of a tongue twister.
It is.
I
forward
tongue
to.
twisted myself into it.
You took us on a journey around the world with language.
I guess that's true of both of these poems. They're both a little bit of a trip.
It sprinkled the
places beyond.
snow under the feet of polar bears.
There's blood in this one, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did notice
and
that
eating human flesh. I presume animals eating human.
there was a connection there between the two, and I only know those two of your poems, so now I'm wondering if all of your poems have blood in them.
They do not.
And
Well, I suppose, yeah. Depends on how you
oh,
look at it.
now that we
What percentage of poems have you written that have
Yeah.
blood in them?
Yeah, I'm
And
gonna
what
have
does
to go
that say
back
about
through.
your psychology?
Yeah.
Some of your poetry, it's quite funny,
Oh, thanks.
if I remember. You have that poem that you shared with the group one time in Westerly, where you don't live. You actually live in Ashway.
Oh, I think I
and-
know the one you're talking about.
Oh, could you read that?
Let me see if I have it.
She's just teasing me. This is, I found to be really funny. I hope you do too.
If I have it.
If you have it. If you don't have it, I understand.
I want to know what your process is when you're building things. Are you thinking inspired, notebook in the pocket?
Oh, you mean if I'm doing carpentry work
Yeah.
and that? Oh yeah, no matter what I'm doing, I'm recording what I'm thinking about in some way. I tend to be a little bit obsessive about collecting lines and ideas when I have them, and
And do you do it on scraps of paper? Take out your phone
my phone. I record voice notes while I'm walking. I do pretty much any version.
I always say I'm going to do that, and I don't.
You have that feeling like after so many years of living that you've had like so many great ideas that you just sort of like let go. There's like dozens of them.
I always think I'm going to remember them, and then I'm like,
Maybe
remember
hundreds.
them. Yeah.
Maybe hundreds, yeah.
Yeah.
some of them I remember, but a lot of them,
Sometimes
just like if I'm making something in the ceramic studio, I always say I should really document my steps, and I never do.
I don't have that poem. I have
Do you have another one?
I have that soccer poem that I shared with you a long time ago. I don't know how funny it is.
I'll throw it out there. For instance, one of my notes is Sean Pazante's cat is the happiest cat because he's a fisherman's cat. And then I wrote a children's
that was a
picture book.
cute
yeah,
little
yeah.
story.
that was a nice story. I heard it at the rodeo. You know, people wouldn't think that an island town like Catunquit would have a real southwestern rodeo, but you know, right over there, a lot of those rodeo types are poets too.
Yeah,
Nice folks.
Yeah, nice folks are the rodeo poets.
They spin themselves around in circles like they do at the rodeo, that's for sure.
You know, some of this is not.
Lasso some words.
Yeah,
I wrote Orange Jesus.
Is this where we all read notes from our phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, Orange Jesus, you were supposed to sing,
Oh yeah.
and now
We're not going to get to hear part 4 of the sort of bear story.
I don't think so.
There isn't time.
Do you have your poem?
I don't have the one you wanted. I have a different one.
Yeah.
Well, rip
Okay.
it. Let's let it go. And I love soccer.
This is for all the footies, I guess. Footy lovers. If you if you love or hate the New England Revolution, you'll know who this is about. Giacomo is in love with an uptown woman. She wears white, a pink hat knit by Gucci above her blue eyes, and they holiday at home in Italy. He plays with a black and white ball for a living and calls it work. He's got ink on his arms where Peter Pan watches over his life from the left side. Green is the breeches he was written with, one forearm covered 3 layers deep with Italian slang. He slides home to his love of goals. His shorts above long legs are lime-colored. He sits, a Buddha on the pitch, grinning, and his girl smiles back from home where the olive trees are blowing firm and low. Giacomo, Albanian doe-eyed diver of grass, runs sometimes the fastest, and in August watches the slow return of fall come slow, creeping like the tide across the ocean. He tinkles the invisible bell over his head when he scores, and rides joy like air, like joy is always a dare when you're young.
That's a great poem.
yeah.
I love that.
Oh, thank you.
It's written in there that he runs sometimes, which, you know.
It's really a play on the criticism that he, I think, is undeserving of professional athletes. But I think because they're professionals, people deem the abuse necessary to keep them running, I guess. I don't know. As fans.
Oftentimes, a pro that's been a pro in Italy or other places will come here at the end of their career.
Yeah.
And they'll play for any, MLS for a period of time. And they don't necessarily have to do everything, right?
Yeah.
They just have to do one thing, and that's score.
Yep.
And that's enough. Every player has their own responsibilities on the field, and I didn't expect certain things of certain players. Like, for instance, we had a wonderful player that played up for us at the local university, And he was probably one of the best players ever playing in Division I soccer in the country. That's a big statement, right? He made the all-decade team. He scored 55 goals for us in 3 years. He was a pro for 12 years. And he was not responsible to defend too much, but steer the defense, you know? But I wasn't going to ask him to do this extra running because his running came at a different point in the match where we needed to go. So, different. Everybody has a different role. Giacomo and his girlfriend. That's beautiful. Well, I don't think we're going to get to Baron Nightingale tonight, just given that we've
had so much fun.
We've had so much fun, and there's been plenty of storytelling in its own right tonight. And I appreciate our guests, the great poet Emma Weiss.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, and the wonderful Davit, Baltic, alias
Dave Gunlock.
There you are.
Yes, thank you. Thanks. This was great. This is now my new favorite Catunquit Chronicles episode.
Yes, okay. That's right. You answered the question. So thanks again, everyone, for listening, and we look forward to seeing you and not seeing you. We're never going to see you. We're only going to hear from you at catunquitchronicles@gmail.com. That's CATUNQUITCHRONICLES@gmail.com. Thanks for confirming, Emma. You shake your head and said that is the correct spelling. Thanks a lot for joining us this evening.
Yeah, thank you guys.